Alright, Book Brats, it's time for a character tier list for the Fourth Wing series. I know everybody's excited about the upcoming release of Onyx Storm, unless you're watching this video at a time where it's already out and it's like you're in the future and I'm in the past. Oh my god, what is time, really? Anyway, at least at the time of this recording, the book's not out yet, so I will just use characters from these two books. So without further ado, let's begin. I pulled this tier list off the internet. It starts with S and ends with E. Don't know what they stand for. Don't care. I just know that S is good and E is bad. So let's get started with our first character, Violet Soaringale. Or as I like to call her, Soaring Fail, because she can't stay on her dragon. Anyway, what do I think about Violet Soaringale? In book one, I wanted her to just go away. Good lord. She was the whiniest whiner in all of Wineland. And I hated it. Ugh, and don't even get me started on her relationship with Xaden. I'm having PTSD from old high school relationships right now just thinking about it. There was a point in Iron Flame where she was being tortured by Verish, and we'll get to him in a frickin' second. Anyway, she was being tortured by Verish, or Verish, however you pronounce it, and she didn't break. And that was the moment where I started respecting her as a person and as a character. And that's not a small thing. We probably all would have broke under that pressure. And that was also the part where Liam comes back, and we'll get to him here in a little bit. Man stuff. But as far as Violet goes, if she continues down this path, I see her moving up to maybe S tier by the end of book 3. But at least where we're at right now with her as a character, I'm going to put her in the B tier. I can't justify putting her in the A tier just yet, but we'll see how this plays out. Next up, we have everybody's favorite shadow daddy, Xaden. Or as I like to call him, Zaddy Spearmint, because he smells like mint in the book, which is not really a turn on for me. I don't know why that would be. Is mint a good thing? All that aside, what do I think about Xaden? I think he's a great freaking character. In the beginning of the book, he starts off a jerk, and I'm thinking the whole time, yeah, I know where this is headed. We're going to have an enemies to lovers trope. Just let's move this along, please. But the further you progress in the series, the more you realize, oh, he has some good in him. He's a very sacrificial person. There was a point in the story where we find out that he received a bunch of lashes from Violet's mom because that somehow was going to save some students, maybe. And I was thinking, yeah, I like you, bro. And if you remember correctly, at the end of book 2, he becomes Venom, but he does that in order to save Violet's life. You can't get any better than that, man. So for those reasons alone, and the fact that he's super attractive and he's got those great muscles, man stuff, I'm going to put him in the S tier. I usually don't put main characters in the S tier simply because I'm a contrarian and I find that there's more value to be had in the side characters. But in this case, I have to put him in S tier. Moving right along to Jack Barlo. I know everybody hates this character, but I like that he's in the books. I will say whenever he came back in book 2, I was like, yeah, I saw you coming back, but I'm also surprised at the same time. I don't like him as a character, but I also kind of do. And I think he's going to have a redemption arc in book 3, but I don't know. I haven't read it. And you're probably sitting there having read it in the future thinking, oh, this guy's a freaking moron. Aside from that, he's essential to the story because you just need somebody that's like, why are you here? God, leave. You want that tension, you know what I mean? I also find it amusing that big bad Jack Harlow is allergic to oranges. Just freaking rub an orange on an arrow and shoot it at him. He's gone. I don't know, I'm torn. I know most of y'all absolutely hate him. I don't like him, but it is fun to have him in the story. So I'm going to put him in the C tier. I don't want to put him any lower than that, and I know if I put him at B or above, the internet is going to freaking come for me. I know most of y'all will put him at the E tier, but hey, make your own video. Moving right along to Dane the Brain Peaker. So I have somewhat of a soft spot for Dane. Ugh, this is not going to go over well. No, he's not right for Violet, but he's also not a bad character. Yes, he's an idiot in the beginning. He doesn't have Violet's best interest in mind. He's selfish. Okay, fine. There's room for growth there. But along through the stories, he has these moments of change, and by the end of book 2, he's on the right side. That's not a small thing. I know most of y'all don't like him, and dare I say hate him simply because he gives you the ick, but hey, I don't care. I think he has a lot of things to work through, but he's on the right path. I would like for him to get to the place of healing and find someone he can cherish and someone that can cherish him. There we go. Let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I was going to put Dane in the B category, but once again, I don't want the internet coming for me and my family, so I'm going to put him in the C tier. Let's move on to Rihan. Oh, by the way, I have a dumb male brain and I find parallels in things all the time just for me to be able to remember them. And so when I was reading Rihanna, it made me think of Rihanna, and the whole time I'm thinking of the song Rude Boy. But I like Ri as a character. I think she has a lot of potential, and I also think she's a good person. There's also a moment in book 2 where you get to see the maturity level of her. Because this whole time, Violet has known about the real enemies who are the Venom and not the Griffin, but she's kept Ri and the rest of the group in the dark, but she finally tells Ri, and what does Ri do? She doesn't get offended because secrets are being kept from her. She simply accepts it and works with Violet. Hey, Violet, you could learn a thing or two. Long story short, I like Ri. I think she's a good character, and I would like to see more of her in book 3. So I'm going to give her the A tier. I'm caught between A and B, but I put Violet in B. These tier lists are freaking hard, man. Why am I sweating? I'll just put her in A, and then you can yell at me in the comments. Up next, we have Mera Singale. I like Mera. I think she's a strong character. She obviously loves Violet. She loves Brennan, which my favorite part was when she totally freaking clocked him in the face because he lied about his death. But I think she's an overall good character, so I'm going to put her in the B tier. Next up, we have General Singale. This is Violet's mom, by the way. And at the beginning of book 1, you just can't help but not like her. You're just like, oh, her mom's a jerk and she doesn't really care about her daughter at all. She just wants her to be like her. And this is kind of like that washed up dad who wants his son to play baseball because he never made it. But then you get to the end of book 2 and you realize, oh, she was doing all of this because she saw the strength in Violet. She knew what she was called for. And then she ends up sacrificing her own life for everyone else. What? Great character and very moving moment at the end of book 2. I'm putting you, General Singale, in the S tier. Rest in peace. Next up, we have Brennan Singale. I don't know how to feel about Brennan. There's too much in the dark about this dude. I don't like the fact that he lied about his death to his entire family. Maybe it's justified. I just know that there's other ways of doing it. Say you're going to study dragons with your brother Charlie. Anything's better than just faking your own death. But I'm also not the smartest crayon in the sock drawer. Let me know in the comments all the things I got wrong, because I know this isn't going to go over well. I'm going to put him in the C tier. Yeah. Next up, we have Ridic. I like Ridic. I want to see more Ridic, and if he freaking gets killed off in book 3, I will riot! He's the comedic character that you need in every book. He's basically a younger Cassian, but not as good looking, obviously. I like the banter he has. He's also a loyal friend. Smash. No, I don't mean me smash him. I just meant like, man stuff. I'm hoping to see a lot more from Ridic in the upcoming books. So I'm going to put Ridic in the A tier. Next up, we have Sawyer. I don't remember much about Sawyer because I didn't really care, and maybe that's my fault. Maybe he had more to offer. I just wasn't really that interested. I do know that he lost a leg during the battle, so he's basically in his half Lieutenant Dan phase currently. And that's no small thing. Sacrificing a leg for the good of your people. You belong in at least the B tier, buddy. And next up we have Liam. I did not realize that his death in book 1 would be so moving for me. Where did that come from? I mean, he was always a good character, but for some reason, the way that death was written, I may have got teary-eyed. Man stuff. I think I actually did cry in that moment because it was so moving and written so well. And then we get to book 2 and Liam comes back. Why would you bring him specifically back? I'm not mad, but I am, and I'm sad, and I'm happy. All the emotions, Rebecca. That was probably my favorite part in the entire series, was when dead ghost Liam was talking Violet through the torture. Good Lord, that read well. Anyway, long story short on Liam, you go in the S tier, buddy. It's been my honor. Next up, we have Imagin. Or as I like to call her, Imagin, because that's kind of what it looks like on paper. She starts off a little bit apprehensive with Violet, but then it gets to a point in book 2 where Violet's like, new year, new me, and Imogen's like, no, new year, new us. And then they start jogging together every morning for some reason. Anyway, I like Imagin. I think she's crucial to the story. She's got a lot of good things to offer. I want to see more from her in the future. I'm going to go ahead and put her in the B tier. Next up, we have Professor Markham. I'm going to go ahead and mark him D. How about that? I want to put him in E, but I'm also a little hesitant to do that because I feel like there's other things that he can offer as a character to make me hate him more. You know what I mean? He's an interesting character, I'll say that much. He's basically the leader of the scribes who's holding back the information about who the real enemies are, which for I I still don't know why they're doing that. There was also a moment in book 1 where he snaps a student's neck because the student apparently could read minds, and that's super illegal unless you're Dane for some reason. But the real reason why I don't like him is because he was betraying everybody. He was withholding information, and maybe he thinks he's doing it for the good of society, but you're wrong, sir. Those real enemies are nothing our shadow daddy himself can't find and kill. Man stuff. Anyway, we're gonna mark him D. Next up, we have Sloan. Sloan is not a good or bad character. She's just misguided and very upset that her brother died, which is understandable because it's Liam. Man stuff. So I understand why she felt the need to act like such a fill in the blank at the beginning of book 2. She hates Violet because she thinks that Violet got Liam killed, which is absurd because they were good friends, but nevertheless, she does have some character growth and they end up becoming friends toward the end. There was also a moment at the end of book 2 where Sloan almost dies because we thought Violet's mom was sacrificing her to bring up the wards. Violet's mom was really sacrificing herself. I don't know. The whole thing was very confusing because my interest was more on the fact that we just found out that Andarna was the 7th dragon breed. What? I don't know if it's just me, but these books are confusing. I feel stupid. Somebody make me feel not alone in the comments, please. Anyway, Sloan, we're going to put you in the B tier. There's too many B's. Not enough D's. D's nuts. Next up, we have Verish. I hate Verish with a passion that I have not had since Ramsay Bolton. But also, I love the fact that he's in these books. You need somebody to hate in a series, and Verish is who you hate in book 2. I don't know who they're going to replace him with in book 3. I need somebody new to hate. Give me somebody. Come on. But Verish is just like that evil entity that exists in the book that makes you turn the page because you're just waiting for him to die. And let's not forget who stabbed him initially. Dane the Brain Peeker. Another reason he's not terrible. But then right after that, Daddy's shadows. Man stuff. And then right after that, Xaden holds him down with his shadows and lets Violet finally kill him. So rewarding. Long story short, I think Verish is a great villain. I don't know that he's S tier villain, so we're going to put him at the A tier. Next up, we have Daddy Atos. I should really call him Father Atos because Daddy gives the impression that I would like to have him or find him attractive, and that is certainly not the case. Anyway, Father Atos, I think, is just one of the most worthless characters in the book. I don't get his motives. I don't really care to get his motives. He's not like a super villain. He's like a paperweight that is spiky. He's like a worthless piece of equipment that if you touch, you'll get hurt. I just don't find any value in him as a character. He has no need to be in the story. We have our villains. We don't need another one unless he goes full on villain mode in book 3. He's worthless. Maybe I missed something, which is probably the case because I have the attention span of a sick goldfish. But all that aside, I'm going to go ahead and put him in the D tier. Next up, we have Eric Greycastle. I'm interested in this dude. What's going to happen? Once again, perhaps my memory is a bit foggy because it's been quite a while since I've read these books, but I remember him being a mysterious person, but also a likable person. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot to be uncovered with this dude. For starters, he entered into Dragonwarts under an alias because apparently, and according to him, he already knew about the real enemies outside of the castle. I don't know. There's also talk of him trying to mac a little bit on Violet, which I'm not opposed to a love triangle between him and Zaddy and Violet. That's fine. Dane could film it, I guess. So I don't know enough about Eric to make a final educated decision on him. So I'm going to give him the B tier or the A tier. I'm going to give him the B tier. Yeah. Let's end on the dragons of the book. So first up, we have Scale. Scale? Is it supposed to sound like dragon scale? Is that what she was doing? Like, oh, I'm thinking of scale. How can I spell it to where it's cool and edgy? Scale? Scale? Now I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. Get down as a dragon. Anyway, I don't remember much about her other than her dialogue with Terran, which is Violet's big daddy dragon, and the fact that she was also very protective of her rider, Xaden. So in that sense, she's a great dragon. I know that Scale and Terran are mates, and when I heard that for the first time, I was like, oh Lord, am I reading Akatar again? But I think she's fine. I just don't remember her very much in the series because I was so interested in other things going on. And that's the thing about these books is there's so much going on. It's hard to keep up with everything. And if you want to deep dive into these books, check out Fantasy Fangirls. They're not paying me to say this, I just think they're awesome. So Singale, I'm going to give you B tier. Moving on to Andarna. Here's the thing about Andarna. I love the character, but all she has right now is potential. In the beginning of book 1, she's super weak and can't do much, and then she goes into some sort of coma, hibernation phase, and then she wakes up and has her pot-smoking teenager phase, and then we find out that she is the 7th breed of dragon, which is the purple nurples, or whatever they're called, and she's been waiting 500 years for Violet, so the possibilities are endless, but up to this point, we haven't really got much from Andarna. I'm anticipating big things, but I can't justify moving her up super high on the list just yet, even though I do like her. Don't get me wrong. Don't yell at me. You're already yelling. Stop yelling at me. I'm going to put her in the B tier, but only because she hasn't done much yet. I'll make another video one day when we get further in the series, but right now, she's just a B. And lastly, we have Tarn. Tarn? I don't know how to pronounce it right, and somebody's going to get angry no matter how I pronounce it, so we're just going to say Tarn. This is a good one to end on because this is the best dragon, I think, personally. I love the conversations he has with Violet. I will say this, in the beginning, whenever I found out that the dragons could talk, I'm thinking in my head, oh, this is Dragon Tales. But then you find out that they're basically just sending it down the bond as if it was Akatar, and they're not moving their mouths. So if they made a movie about this, they wouldn't need to put peanut butter in the dragon's mouth. So once I figured that out, it was fine. And then once he started bantering with Violet, I was sold on Tarn at that point. I think he's a great character. Let's not forget the fact that he saved Violet's life when she bonded with him as she was flying away. Because usually, if you fall off your dragon after you bond with him, you just die. But Tarn swoops down, saves her, flies her to safety, and then it says that someone else fell off their dragon, and their dragon's like, I don't got time for this, and they freaking bolted. I don't know if Andarna will overshadow him in upcoming books, but for right now, he's top dog. Well, top dragon. So Tarn, I'm moving you to the S tier. You deserve it, buddy. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. What did I get wrong in this tier list? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments sections. Also, who did I leave out of this video? I didn't do every single character. Obviously, which one was your favorite that I left out? Let me know all that in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.